Welcome. Thank you for joining the table. I'm Chair. I'm here to prop you up. We started working on a game yesterday called Brick Breaker, but not the one you're thinking of. It's literally just a brick. And there's a fist that comes down and smashes it. Brick Breaker. The game is designed to be a Logos module. There's a preview of said game that I will show you now. Thank you for being here early, folks. Let me know how the audio sounds. It sounds okay. And if you do not yet, please subscribe, like, turn notifications on. It helps a lot. I'll be doing plenty of these sessions going forward, and maybe even going backwards. Yeah, this is maxed out. So this is the earliest prototype of the game. There we go. All right, so now there's a lot to be desired in terms of the graphics, but that's not the point. All of the functionality basically is present here, and more or less all of the UI elements except this rock is supposed to be a rock mantle, a mantle made of stone, a stone mantle even. But it turned out to be a rolling rock of sorts. And not the kind from Pennsylvania, neither. So that needs to be done. But every time you break a brick, you free a kitty. Right, there goes the kitty. Every time you break a brick, the score increases. Every time you increase a level, the difficulty to break a brick increases, but the reward of the treasures that you find within the bricks beyond the kitten, which are treasures within themselves. Oh, by the way, I have a soundboard now, so may God help us all. There's the treasure. So, you have to break 100 bricks per level. And difficulty increases. All of the game logic is defined in a game functionality document, including all of the formulas. What I don't like is that droning, humming sound that you hear. There we go. Oh man. then we don't hear everything else. But I'm gonna have to take that away. Let's take a note of that. Now, my issue was building this module locally. Luckily, we have some help today in the form of a workshop by Logos DevRel Guru. So we will be consuming that, and I think we will be our issues should be resolved at that point, because it's a little bit unclear to me some of the details of correctly launching your module, or loading your module rather. So we'll get into it. Now there is this cheat sheet that goes along with what we're about to see, but I want to see this first, and then we will get into the vidya, and then we will get into the code and whatnot. Okay, now Logos is a completely decentralized technology stack. It's modular and it's all peer-to-peer. It offers a few different core functionalities and protocols. A blockchain, of which it is in testnet v0.1.2 right now, and you can run a node yourself right now on testnet, claim testnet tokens, start building modules. Well, all of that is not even required to build a module, but you can do all of the early bootstrapping and testing of the network if that is your flavor. There's also peer-to-peer decentralized private storage and messaging, respectively. Privacy is built at the base layer of Logos. So the optionality of full privacy for developers to build apps and functionality with full privacy features, real full privacy features, is there. And Logos is completely modular as well. There is a runtime called liblogos that everything runs off of, and there's a native application called Basecamp, which you can load modules from. Some of those native modules are just run a blockchain node, your blockchain wallet, etc. You can also deploy programs, arbitrary programs, via the Logos execution zone and its subsequent zones, or you can think of zones as layer 2s. So there's a lot going on. I would like to build a native module that is a simple game module for the game that you just saw, Brick Breaker, but not the one you're thinking. So, cheat sheet. LGX is the package type for Logos. LGX. Modules is a Qt plugin, .so or .dilib loaded dynamically by a Logos runtime, the aforementioned liblogos. .lgx is a zipped package, plugin binary, and a manifest JSON, and a per platform and plus per platform variants. Core is the backend module. So I guess we're building a backend module, or what we're building in this workshop that we will check out. Logos API, the IPC bridge, how modules discover and call each other at runtime. Logos core is the headless runtime. Okay. Core and Logos core, not confusing. Headless runtime loads modules, makes calls from the CLI. Okay. LGPM, the Logos package manager, installs, lists, removes .lgx packages in a module's directory. LM inspects a compiled plugin, dumps metadata and its Q invocable methods. two module shapes, UI QML and QML only UI module, no compile step. UI, there's a flake, there's a metadata, there's a main.qml. The core is the backend module, exposes methods other modules call. Okay. Got it. Got it. This is the interface. And everything is displayed via the UI here. Okay. And then, okay, so we're building the core. Got it. Got it. Got it. So we're building this core module. And now we know the difference between core and Logos core. 4 rules to keep straight. Name and metadata.json. And saw fails with a confusing error. Okay. UI modules go in Basecamp, plugins directory, core modules and modules. Okay. Okay. I don't know what IPC types are. Jarvis. Do you know? Let me know in the chat. Insane posse clown. That's my guess. Init logos. Logos API is Q invocable, not override, and must assign to the global Logos API from the SDK, not a member variable. Okay. Essential commands, Nix things. Okay. Nix flake init. Logos module builder, module builder, module builder. UI QML, QML backend. Great. All right, Nix build. Nix build, Nix build. Okay. Always single quote. Fine. I like double quote. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, peek inside a .lgx with tar that. Okay. Install into Basecamp. Oh, it's assuming Mac. How comfy. Icons, Basecamp sidebar tab, show a PNG icon and put a PNG icon's name in your module repo. Okay. Great. This is what the metadata JSON looks like. This is what the main QML skeleton looks like. Minimal core module interface. QObject, QString, and interface. Class interface. Or whatever. My interface. Public plugin interface. Okay. Hello. World. Yeah. Define that. I guess I should learn QML. I suppose. Okay. All right. Let us use this as a reference. We'll come back to this for the moment. Let's go to the video. And this is Guru. It's at Hacky Guru on X. On X. It's Hacky Guru on X. Let us begin.
For the delay, I just kind of had some issues with my browser. But then, yeah, going forward, I'm Guru and I do developer relations for Logos. And today I'll be hosting a vibe coding session for you. But before we go into the vibe coding parts of the session, I'll also run through some theory, which my co contributors for Logos have covered in the previous workshops. But I'll just give some of my own takes for why we are building what we are building, and then we'll be heading on to the hands-on vibe coding section, which has three different parts. But for the theory, we'll be covering mostly about the Ethereum trilogy, what Ethereum wanted to build back in the time in 2015, and how it kind of transitioned into a completely different technology, and then why browser-based applications suck in terms of safeguarding your privacy and security. And then we'll also be looking at the reason why a local first approach with Logos exists and how this can solve Web3's long forgotten problems. And then I'll also be giving an overview about the Logos development stack itself. And finally, we'll be getting to do some dogfooding, which involves installing and setting up your own
Can you hear that okay,
Logos
folks?
Basecamp app. And then from there, we'll be building on top of the Logos Basecamp app. And the vibe coding section has three main components. The first one being building a simple Hello World UI module on Basecamp. This is the most beginner friendly thing that you can build on top of Logos, just a simple plugin that says Hello World. And the second part would be a to do app that includes both the UI and the core module functionality. And finally, we'll be looking at a full stack private polling app, which is kind of basic, but then it can help you understand how Logos messaging works. So yeah, let's get started. And for the first section, it's going to be about the Ethereum trilogy. So yeah, in 2014, Ethereum was far beyond just a blockchain. Ethereum was considered to be a stack, but not just a blockchain. And we had three main components in it. The first one being Ethereum itself, for consensus, where you deploy smart contracts, and this is where the programmability layer comes in. And then there's Swarm, which is a content address file storage network, which is decentralized and distributed, and this exists in different forms today. IPFS is one of them. RV is also another one of them. And finally, there's also Whisper, which is meant for dynamic communications. And all of these three technologies complemented each other uh, to kind of form what Ethereum was actually proposed to be. But eventually, over time, things did not go in the way it was expected. So today, Whisper died, Swarm struggled, and infrastructure got centralized, just because the incentivization layer, which is Ethereum, got more popularity, and most of the dev tooling around the Ethereum ecosystem kind of got concentrated with the consensus layer. And you
By the way, in case you didn't know, I'm sure you knew, but in case you didn't know, that's where Web3 comes from. Ethereum is not Web3. Web3, as coined by the good Dr. Gavin Wood, meant the three protocols that Guru was just going over: Swarm, Whisper, and Ethereum, the blockchain, and the ecosystem that could take place, could blossom if those three protocols actually shipped. But they never did. And centralized alternatives were shipped instead. And so, in my opinion, Web3 doesn't exist.
You can also read more about this in Vitalik's own blog post, which is one of my favorite blog posts. And this is probably the
Yeah, I didn't look ahead here, but would you look at that? A suite of tools.
spot where people started using this word cypherpunk. I don't think most of the Web3 ecosystem knew about this word before this blog post went out. But yeah, it's pretty interesting if you wish to learn more about the Ethereum mission and stuff. So the reason why this happened is because we wanted speed, speculation, and better UX. And the compromises that we did for making Ethereum in the way it is right now is sovereignty, privacy, and resilience, because you kind of don't have any of these three things if you use an Ethereum DApp in today's world. So basically, the way I infer this is we reinvented Web2 without privacy but on a blockchain. So looking at how browser-based Web3 works in the Ethereum ecosystem, you as a user use a DApp, decentralized app, which is hosted on a hyperscaler, which talks to an RPC provider that runs a Ethereum full node on another hyperscaler, which then talks to the decentralized network. But with local first Web3, we are kind of evading the whole two steps over here. Sorry for not updating the image. I was just doing it a few minutes before this workshop. But then you kind of have this user talk to a DApp, which is Logos Basecamp, which kind of accesses the decentralized network without having any middleman hosted on a hyperscaler. So you kind of get rid of both the elements here, which is the DApp element hosted on hyperscaler and the RPC provider hosted on a hyperscaler. By hyperscaler, I mean pretty much anything that includes AWS, Vercel, or anything that you use for cloud deployments these days. But yeah, this is how today's browser-based Web3 looks like. And the most interesting part is that the application layer privacy itself only solves 20% of the exposure, and 80% of the exposure happens below the application layer in the protocol layer. And there's multiple stages to this. Metadata can be exposed in different areas. It can be messaging platforms where you share your wallet addresses, or it can be RPC calls that you make to wallets that you use every day, or even ISP calls. So there's like a bunch of these that can result in exposure of your private metadata. And again, these can be user choice failures or also infrastructure failures. For example, user choice failures could be using a centralized RPC, which can probably be decentralized on the outlook, but it can still be operationally centralized. So you don't really know about how RPCs are using your data. They can simply offer this to advertising or even compliance in the worst case. So yeah, there can be two different types of failures. And if you wish to learn more about this, we have a blog post from one of my co-contributors, and it kind of takes you deep dive into each of these layers. So yeah, it's definitely worth checking out if you're interested. So the conclusion that we have from all of these different stages of metadata exposure is that the browser itself is the biggest attack surface. And we do have some events in the last year which kind of validates the statement, because we had Bybit hack, which is probably one of the most which was the biggest of all Web3 hacks, I guess. And this happened because of a compromised front end hosted in a centralized service. And there's other instances like the Trust Wallet supply chain hack, which ended up getting a few millions drained. And then there's also Ledger Connect Kit, which got more dApps affected. So every single decentralized application that kind of integrated the ConnectKit SDK was affected because of this particular reason. And all of these happened just because the browser was the attack surface. And smart contracts were not really broken. They work, but the web stack itself is broken in today's world. And RPC providers know a lot more than what you think they do. They know your IP address, they know your wallet balances, intent, and they can kind of correlate your IP address to a wallet to kind of give a physical identity to your wallet, which is not really uh, in line with the privacy aspect that Ethereum tries to propose. And the funniest part is top 2% of the block builders control more than 80% of the Ethereum blocks, which again is against the decentralization side of things. So the settlement layer is decentralized with Ethereum, but the visibility layer is definitely centralized. And the solution is not just a private blockchain, but a privacy preserving tech stack that is built on top of sovereign infrastructure. And that's Logos. We look at Logos as a tech stack and not just another private layer 1 or layer 2 blockchain. You can think of this like a shift from the mainframe era to the personal computers era, because in the mainframe era, you had all the computation concentrated in the middle, and then if you have a computer, it was just using the computation which was concentrated in the middle. But with the personal computers era, you have the computation distributed across many personal computers, and that's the kind of computers that we use right now. And the analogy for comparing Logos to Ethereum is very similar to this. And yeah, browser-based Web3 quietly brought us back to pseudo decentralization, even though we use decentralized apps which are hosted on centralized providers. And another way of thinking about this is from renting a house to owning it, because you can't really build a sovereign system on rented infrastructure. And by rented infrastructure, here I mean RPCs, because the way you interact with the blockchain is by renting an RPC, which is like renting a full node that someone else runs for you. And the someone can see all the metadata that is being sent into the RPC, and they can kind of make use of it in any way they want
That's
to.
why you need to be
And this is
connected
already
directly to the
happening. A
network
lot of the
via
RPC
native
providers are
application.
already using your data for advertisement purposes, but beyond which this can also be organized in a compliance vertical, which is not really visible for us. We don't really know if that's happening. And the best part is some of the most resilient privacy networks ever built solve this problem already. And Web3 is just confronting this right now. But for example, Tor and Torrent have solved this like years ago. Tor operates on a completely different way. You don't really use something like Chrome or Brave to use Tor. You have completely different ways of accessing it. There is a friction, but then that's how you attain state of the art privacy. And that's also very similar to torrent. There have been government institutions censoring torrent over the last couple of years, but you can't really stop torrent, because the way you use torrent is by using a torrent client like BitTorrent, which is over here. And BitTorrent uses the torrent binaries to kind of communicate to the torrent network directly from your machine. You're not using an RPC over here to communicate with torrent. You're just using uh, your client that runs locally on your machine to communicate directly
What did I just say?
with the network. And that's how both of these examples solve the exact issue that Web3 is facing right now. And Logos is trying to solve this problem for Web3. And the way we do this is by implementing a very modular architecture. We have something called Logos Core, which is a combination of multiple user modules. And we have some pre-baked user modules, which are storage, messaging, and blockchain. You can just think about Ethereum, Swarm, and Whisper from the past. That's kind of very similar to this. We are trying to stick on to the original Ethereum ethos. So that's how we have a stack of tooling that can help you build decentralized applications. And this is also modular, so there can be more user modules that can be introduced into Logos Core in the future. And yeah, these modules have properties uh, specific to themselves. I'll be giving a quick overview about the properties. So for Logos storage, it's a content address storage network. Data is identified by cryptographic hashes and not location, very similar to IPFS. Each and every file that you upload into Logos storage has its own CID or a content identifier, and that's how you identify your files. And we also have verifiable redundancy and uptime for maximum reliability. It's super durable. And we also have private retrievals, which is something that the other decentralized storage networks don't have. You can make encrypted queries and also access files with decentralized access control. And the intention is to replace any kind of centralized storage solution like Amazon S3 buckets, IPFS gateways that are also very similar to how RPCs work. IPFS gateways simply work in a way where someone hosts an IPFS full node for you, and then you kind of rent the full node to access a particular file. And with Logo storage, you don't really rent any infrastructure, it's all fully sovereign. And we also have Logos messaging, which was previously known as Waku, and a lot of projects have integrated Waku in the past and have been using Waku in production for quite a while. So this is probably one of my personal favorites out of all the user modules that I mentioned. And also in the vibe coding session today, I'll be demonstrating you how to use Logos messaging in your applications that you build on top of Logos. So yeah, we have sender, receiver, unlinked.
Hey, thanks for watching, folks. If you're just joining, we are getting into this workshop that Logos DevRel Guru gave, I think today, or very recently. I'm stuck on loading a module correctly in my Basecamp application, so I think this will unstuck me, and we'll look at some other fun Basecamp or just Logos module in general development stuff. Some of which I've already learned a little bit going through the cheat sheet the Guru put together for this, and we'll look at that again and get into some coding. Wherever you are, if you can like and follow and subscribe, and maybe most importantly, turn notifications on. I'll be doing these streams more and more regularly, and we'll go deeper and deeper into Logos core tech stack stuff, especially it will only be increasing because things are coming together as like the 5 different pieces of Logos are all sort of converging into each other. That being the blockchain, messaging, storage, the core applications like the runtime, Basecamp, and anonymous communications is the 5th part of it. So all of the privacy stuff that Guru is talking about actually comes together.
Unlinkability for maximum anonymity. We have privacy preserving DDoS protection with rate limiting nullifiers. So this is one of my favorite features of Waku and Logos messaging. The best part is you don't really depend on an identity to create a DOS protection layer on top of your network. Everything happens without an identity, completely anonymous with this technology called RLN, rate limiting nullifiers. And you can read more about this in our research blogs as well. And like other modules, Logos messaging can also work on resource constrained devices, and is also can also work on any device that can be as resource restricted as a mobile or a Raspberry Pi. And this can replace Discord, Telegram servers, API gateways, centralized coordination tools, or even centralized relay networks, because messaging is basically a relay where you can kind of send data within the network. By messaging, we don't really mean chat. This refers to messaging, which can be any kind of one-to-one or one-to-many communication. So that's Logos messaging. And finally, Logos blockchain. I'm pretty sure my colleagues, Vaslav, uh, went on a deep dive through Logos blockchain in the previous workshops. I'll take no further ado and I'll go forward to the vibe coding session. And finally, Logos Core is the superset or the developer offering for anyone who wants to build on top of Logos. So if you wish to build an application on top of Logos, you do that by implementing Logos Core, and Logos Core makes sure that you kind of have access to each of these user modules at your disposal. You don't have to use a user module by compulsion, but you can also kind of opt in for user modules to the ones that you want. So imagine this to be a native workbench that can seamlessly help you integrate any of these offerings that Logos has. So Ethereum solved trust in computation, but the next decade must solve trust in everything around it. It's just not about the blockchain. It's just not about the stack that you're using to build applications, but it is also about how you use applications. And Logos tries to solve this by making sure that the vision is not just the chain, but an internet that users could trust end to end. And for this, we have Logos Basecamp, which is our client built on top of Logos core. Imagine this to be the BitTorrent of Torrent. So Logos Basecamp is a client that is built on top of Logos core. And anyone can build their own client for Logos by implementing it with Logos core. But Basecamp is our official client, and you can download Basecamp already from our builder hub over here. It's currently in alpha, but then people are already building on top of Basecamp, and today we'll also be building 3 quick modules for Basecamp, and I'll also be explaining you about what Basecamp is. So for Basecamp, 3 important things to know. Basecamp is an application client powered by Logos Core, like I mentioned before. And there are 2 different types of modules within Basecamp. At least that's how I see it. The first one is the UI plugins, and the second one is the core modules. So in web developer terminology, I would say this is more of the front end kind of thing, where you build front ends on Logos Basecamp using UI plugins. And then if you want to implement a functionality that requires something like a backend, that's where you get into core modules. So I'm this is my understanding because I've never touched Qt or C++ before a few weeks. So I'm kind of using AI to my benefit to build apps on top of Logos Basecamp. You can run Logos Basecamp on your local machine, and it talks to the blockchain directly and not a centralized RPC. And this can replace browser-based Web3 apps that leak your metadata. So going on, I think, this is the last slide, and then we go right into the code, which is probably the most exciting part for me. So building on Basecamp, you build .lgx files. Every single module or a plugin that you build on Basecamp is basically a .lgx file that you can compile from source. And again, there are 2 types of modules, like I mentioned before. There's UI plugins, which are the front end side of your modules. And this can be built with .qml, which is the Qt format, and .cpp, which is C++. And for core modules, you can currently you can just build it with C++. So this is my very high level understanding. Imagine me to be a web developer who kind of transitioned into building desktop apps like a few weeks ago. So this is how I understood things. And today we will be vibe coding 3 things. The first one being the Hello World UI, which is a simple UI only plugin. There's no core module in it. And then there's a to-do app where you have a core module and a UI plugin. And the UI plugin here is the front end that is being served, and the core module is kind of the logic which is used for saving to-dos and kind of making sure that the to-dos are checked or unchecked based on user interactions, and also persisting the data across different sessions. So this kind of takes you a bit into complex part, which is building core modules for your UI interface to use. And finally, we have the private polling application, and this uses one of the pre-baked modules, which is Logos Delivery. And another feedback that I received from a couple of hackers who've been trying to build on top of Logos is that the terminologies could be a bit confusing. For example, we have something called Logos Delivery and Logos Chat, and both of these modules are subsets of the messaging module, which is Logos Messaging. So we broadly call it Logos Messaging, but the way you implement Logos Messaging is by using the module of your preference, and the module that fits your use case perfectly. So Delivery is a general purpose module which can be used for any kind of dynamic communications. But for chat, that's catered more towards building chat applications specifically. So this is how I understand Logos Delivery and Logos Chat. So you can see both the modules in the next few minutes, and I'll help you navigate with those. So yeah, that's pretty much with the slides for today. Let's go dive into the code. Yes, cool. So before that, I'm gonna give a quick preview of how the Logos Basecamp app itself looks like. So this is the Logos Basecamp app, and over here you see a lot of these icons on the left tray, and these icons are basically the modules that you build. For example, there's a counter module that comes baked with the application. Excuse me. And you can play with this by incrementing the counter. This is just a module that is pre-built into the application, and then we have like more modules, and some of these modules are also built for this tutorial. So yeah, we have the 3 colorful modules that I built specific for this workshop, and I'll be taking you through the step-by-step of each of these modules, and I'll also be explaining you how to build these modules and import them into Logos Basecamp. But yeah, if you want to install a module, let's say if you want to install the delivery module, the way you do this is by going over here. Over here, yeah, it should be here. Yeah, package manager. And in package manager, you have like a lot of categories on the left. For example, the blockchain category here displays you all the blockchain modules. You can also see the types here. There's a core module, a UI module, and another core module as well. And there's also a short description for it. But if you don't really know why a module exists over here, or what is the purpose of a module, make sure to reach out to us in the Builder Hub channel on Discord, and we'll help you figure that out. I'm still figuring out the purpose behind a lot of modules myself. So yeah, so let's try looking at the delivery module. And also don't be surprised if this crashes once in a while, like it did right now. This is still in alpha, so yeah, expect a lot of crashes. Let me try opening it again. Anyways, the way you can install a module is
Takes a
by
while to
pressing a
load.
particular module and then hitting the install button, and then this comes up over here. If it's a UI module, it's going to be showing up here, and if it's a core module, it shows up over here. So yeah, that's pretty much about the Logos Basecamp app. Again, this is still in beta, so we need a lot of help in dogfooding the application itself. So the best way to contribute in this particular direction is by going to our Builder Hub, and we have a contribution board here that kind of gives you some avenues to start contributing, and we do have a dog fooding part here, which is Basecamp module creation, or there's also another dog fooding part where you can run through the quick start guide for running a headless blockchain node, and then you can uh, give us some feedback. So these are really good avenues for contributing, even if you are not keen to write code. This is really helpful for us in kind of processing the feedback to make sure that the application won't crash like it did a few minutes ago. So let me try closing this and opening it again. Anyways, I think we can go ahead because I have the core module for Logos delivery already installed. So yeah, I think we're good to go. I can show you the coding part already. But then if you wish to install a user module into this, you can press on the install LGX package button here, and you can simply pick the .lgx file of the package that you wish to install, and this just comes up over here. It gets imported into your UI module, or similarly for core module, and then shows up over here. So yeah, let's go into the coding parts. I'll have to pull my Claude Code here. Cool. So I already pushed all the code for this tutorial in a GitHub repository. I'll be sharing it soon after we complete this tutorial. But then, yeah, I have a couple of docs over here which has some knowledge files for your AI to kind of know what you're doing. There's a cheat sheet which is probably a more condensed version of for yourself to understand what's happening. This is not really meant for AI, but then there's a delivery guide which kind of uh, teaches your AI how to use the delivery module, and then there's also a workshop.md file which is probably like the biggest superset of all the project's knowledge. So just pass it on to your AI, and then pretty much knows what to do. And yeah, so for the part one, we have three folders: part one, part two, and part three. And for part one, we just have the UI module, which is this one, and I've already built it over here. You can see it right here. This is the LGX file that I was talking about. So once you build the file from source, it's going to be uh, in your LGX file. You can export it wherever you want, but I have it right inside the result portable folder, and you can just import this specific file into the modules over here, and it should get imported. In my case, it's already imported. It's Logos Hello World. So this is the module that I was talking about. And looking at the code, I think the two main files that I personally look at are these two. The first one is the metadata.json. This has your project's metadata, just the name of your package, and then versions, and also descriptions and just the metadata. And then the next file that you look at is main.qml. This is the Qt file, and you have the front end written in Qt over here. And this is basically the whole Qt layout for our application. And it can simply show hello world. And okay, let's give that a shot. Let me try loading it. It's right here. I can just put my name here, say hi, and it says hello guru. So this is pretty much about the hello world application, and the code is very lightweight for you to understand how to kind of build a module and export it as a .lgx file. And once you do this, you can like I said, you can just go here, install the package, and then you should see it over here. And I've also pushed the lgx package into GitHub. So even if you're not interested to touch the code, but if you just want to try importing a package, you can just download this particular file from GitHub and try importing it. So
We
that's
should
for the
try
part
that.
one. I hope
All right, let's do
we
that.
understood what
On Guru.
are the two main files. The
All right, let's do that. What he just said. Shall we? Shall we? This is the repository. Oh, that looks not good, right? Okay, so there's an LGX file, apparently. Hello world. Hello world. I don't see it. I don't see an LGX file. All right, well, since it's not there, let us continue.
The QML file is the one that holds the front end, and this is pretty much the only thing that's required. And the flake files over here are for building the specific .lgx package. So yeah, they are pretty much used in compilation, and I don't really know what happens here, because again, as I'm two weeks old for C++, but yeah, I think they do the job pretty well, and I have all of it documented in the knowledge file. So it should get your job done. You just have to tell your AI to build the LGX file after you kind of write the Qt part and also the metadata, and then it should get it done. You can also optionally add an icon for this. I have this particular icon for the sidebar. So yeah, now that we are done with part one, part two is a bit more complex. Like I mentioned before, we have two different modules here. The first one being the UI plugin, which is very similar to the Qt module that we built with Hello World. Over here, you can see a very similar layout. For the to-do app, you need a bunch of to-dos. But before we jump into the code, I can also show you a preview of how the to-do app works. This is the to-do app. Let's try loading it.
Well, I don't feel bad that I'm having the same
And
issues.
if something happens like this at times, you just have to quit it and then reopen it. That's what I do to solve my issues. Yeah. So yeah, the package manager works now. So you can see that there's a lot of packages here, and this package that we are using for the third part, which is the delivery module, which is installed over here. You can see it's installed right here, and it's a core module. So in the third part of this workshop, we will just be building an UI that uses this particular core module along with another core module, which is more like a supplementary core module. But yeah, before that, let's go back to the second part, which is the to-do app. And over here in the to-do app, I have some sample to-dos. It uses SQLite database in the core module, and then in the front end, which is the UI plugin, it just implements this whole interface as a Qt app. So yeah, you can find the code for the Qt app over here in main.qml. Yeah, it's pretty simple, and the code is honestly very human understandable. It's not like C++ for me. This looks very easy for me to understand. Just feels like looking at a JSON file for me. But yeah, you have all the front end over here, and that's for the UI module, and very similar to what we had with the Hello World example app earlier. And we have a to-do core module, which is something that works along with this. So the UI module or the UI plugin talks to the core module, and the core module is doing the heavy lifting, which is basically interacting with the SQLite database, making sure that the to-dos are persistent and stuff. So over here you have all the code in C++ for this particular module in the 3 files over here. So yeah, that's pretty much all you need for the backend for a to-do app. And none of these apps, which is part 1 and part 2, have any interactions with the blockchain, messaging, or the storage layer. This is simply um, to understand how Logos Basecamp works and how you can kind of build modules into Basecamp. And this way, we kind of evade the whole browser-based technologies, and we are just looking at local-first technologies that can uh, safeguard your privacy. So that's for part 1 and part 2. And let's also try adding a to-do. I can say eat a watermelon. And this should add it over here, but if it's not going to add it, I'm sure there's something wrong. Okay, I don't think it's working, but then let's see. Let's try to check this, or maybe uncheck this, or check this. Yeah, let's refresh it. Checking works, and maybe let's try reopening this after closing it to see if it's like still persistent. Cool, it is persistent. So the SQLite functionality works in some regard, but I don't know what I did with the code base earlier today to stop this adding part working, but I'll get this fixed after the workshop. But yeah, this is a very basic example that kind of helps you understand how a core module and the UI module work together and how they are interdependent when you're working on bigger projects that require far more beyond just UI. And yeah, this is the part 2 completed now, and we are heading to part 3, which is the polling app. And for some reason, I call this voting in the first few minutes of me vibe coding this. So most of the naming is like a bit inconsistent, but this is also something that I should be fixing in my next push. But yeah, we have 2 different modules, the core module for the logic and the UI module. And we also talk to the Logos delivery module, which we just installed earlier over here. So you can see that the delivery module is installed. And this is a core module which helps you talk to Logos messaging. And you can simply install modules by pressing this and then hitting the install button. This is going to get a module installed for you. Yeah, so I just installed the chat SDK UI module, and I can see it over here. So all the UI modules that you install appear over here. So I have the delivery module installed, but this is a core module, so you don't really see it over here, but it's a functionality that's already installed. And this helps you run a Logos messaging node and kind of interact with the APIs for your Logos messaging node that you run. And that's exactly what the third application is going to do, which is the voting app. So in the voting app UI, again, we have our main.qml, which has all the front end that we require for the app. And again, metadata in metadata.json. The icon is right inside the icons folder. And then most of these things are kind of, they're just like building essentials. So you don't really have to dig deep into them. AI is going to do most of your heavy lifting for that. And we also have the scaffold repository, which is not really updated, but yeah, I think eventually the scaffold repository should be a lot more it should be a lot more maintained and should give you functionalities like what each scaffold gives you, which is making transactions, signing a transaction, or creating a wallet, and all of those things. That's our idea for the scaffold repository. But then, yeah, for polling, we have the UI, which we just looked into, and then there's also a core module, which is something that interacts with the delivery module, and all the logic here is within this. I'm not going to go into this for the sake of time. I guess we have like 9 more minutes. But then, yeah, this is where we make all the interactions for the delivery module. I think I can give you an example here. You can see that this particular line of code here is used for unsubscribing from a specific content topic. And I hope you know about content topics already from the previous workshops, but if you haven't checked it out, I think the last workshop from Vaslav is uh, really helpful in understanding how Logos messaging works and how the network is structured as content topics and how you filter messages out of them. There's also different protocols that you can use within Logos messaging, and you can understand all these protocols by looking at the previous video. Or you can also go to the docs, look at the delivery guide, and over here I have like a lot of methods listed along with the purpose of each and every method. It's somewhere in here, but then, yeah, for an example, you have the method for unsubscribing from a content topic here. There's also other methods, could be like starting a node, I guess. Here, this should be starting a node and getting the connection, and this is for creating the node. So basically, you create the node, uh, which is initializing the node with a JSON file, which holds all the nodes uh, properties, which includes the fleet which you're communicating to. We have currently two fleets. There's a logos.dev fleet, which is this one. You pass this into the preset, and this fleet talks to the logos messaging network without using RLN, which we previously saw, rate limiting nullifiers, for DOS protection. So RLN is still work in progress. So I think logos.dev fleet is a lot more stable for making sure that your messages are delivered across the network. But yeah, you can also use the RLN feed at some point for having your network-wide DOS limiting protection. But yeah, I would strongly recommend against using RLN right now and to use logos.dev, because this is the dev fleet that we use at this point. But you can also see how the protobuf definitions are. Protobufs are the way in which we define each and every message that goes on through the Logos messaging network. And this is also somewhere below. But yeah, you can see how to push a message into a content topic, and also subscribe to a content topic. So all of the code that you need for this lives over here in these three files. And let's look at the output for this. I think it's this one. Yeah.
Oh, it worked.
So yeah, we have the voting UI, which has create polls and join poll. You also have a button over here to start a node. But for the sake of this tutorial, we'll need two instances of Logos Basecamp to test this. So I kind of made like a quick hack to get two instances running on your machine, which use two different Logos messaging nodes. And to do this, I've included this right inside the README file here. And in the README file, you can see that there's running multiple instances of Basecamp in one machine. And this is all you have to do to get multiple instances. For example, I have one instance running already, which uses port 60,000 for TCP for running your Logos messaging node. But if you have another instance using the same port, that's not going to work. So you need like two instances that run two different ports. And to run another instance, I kind of tweaked with the Logos Basecamp app. Again, this knowledge is available in the workshop.md file, but to do this, you just run this particular command, and once you tweak it, obviously, you run this command, and then this helps you run another instance. Let me try doing it. Oh, or the best part, you don't even have to do all this. You just go to Claude Code and say run 2 instances of Logos Basecamp, and just pass this up, because I'm not really sure where my binaries are for Logos Basecamp inside my file system. So my Claude Code is going to take care of that. And
Okay, I think I have what I need to get going for now from this tutorial, I believe. Let's see. Let's take a look again at this repo that Guru is sharing with us. So, voting UI and the voting app itself. All right, I'll need the CLI tools. All right, so I need to look at this a little more deeply. You run Nix build, LGX portable, the magic, but no, okay. Okay. So what we're going to do is just clone this entire repository. I'll do that locally. And then let's see. Oh, let's open that up in an editor. Why don't we? Why don't we? Oh, I have a surprise for you all. And you're gonna love it. Okay, so oh, I think son of a, all right, hold on. I still have a surprise for you. All right, let's see if this works. Tell me if you hear this. Huh? You like that? I have a soundboard. but I only have one. I only have one sound so far. But when we make a breakthrough, you better believe. But I don't actually know if that's coming through, so please someone let me know. One sound so far. But when we make a breakthrough, you better believe. Oh, it works. Folks, it works. We know it works. That's not going to get old. All right. So then, we already have the cheat sheet and we have the workshop. I want to make a part 4 to this very repo. So let's just make a new, I'm going to say one shot. I'll say create a new directory in the home directory of this project called part 4 brick breaker. And a new directory. Okay, you know what? Create a new module in this, within this project, following the instructions in, well, why is it? Yeah, we definitely don't need this. Following the instructions in cheatsheet.md and workshop.md to build a Logos Basecamp module for the game described in game description.md. I should get that. Where is that? I have it somewhere here. Man, I have it somewhere. I know I do. There it is. All right. Cat. Oh, that's going to be a lot. Oh, fuck it. Cat game functionality. What? Cat game functionality. All right, we'll go over it here in a second, but it's brick breaker. Not the one you're thinking of. All right, so we're here. Let's do a new game functionality.md. We'll drop that in. Oh, game description.md. Oops. And now I have an assets folder for all of the assets for the game somewhere. There it is. All right. I'm going to copy these in here. Copy folder. So here's all of the assets and JSON description. So I'll say for the assets for the game, use the assets in the assets directory. If need, you can copy whatever is needed into the relevant folder for development. Great. What else? Oh, I have to give it the magic sauce. This is the magic sauce. Claude Code instructions. You just got to start with the magic sauce. And that is the magic sauce. Always follow these instructions and think before coding, so on and so forth. Final output should be a .lgx package that can be loaded into the Logos Basecamp app. All right, let's see what happens. I suspect we might not be thorough enough, but yeah, why not? Allow the bash command. allow this bash command. Whoa, no, dude. Are you kidding me? Jesus Christ. Wow. Wow. We're gonna have to update our fucking one shot. Under no circumstances should you navigate outside of the project directory. We are in. Everything you need locally is within the project directory. All right, I'm gonna give it a little more. Oh, okay. That was fucking gnarly. That looks more or less reasonable there. All right, Nix. What? Dude, it's trying to go sudo. Are you fucking crazy, dude? No. This is fucking kind of frustrating. Kind of, sort of. use cheatsheet.md and workshop.md along with this repository to inform your development decisions. I think because there's going to be far less context. All right, this looks like a good to-do. I like the to-do. I'll be right back. Let this thing cook. What does it want? Make DIRs. Yes. Copy that into that, yes. SIPs. What the fuck is SIPs? Let's looking like it. The instructions. Oh, what a nice! That's so cool. That's what SIPs did. Create the icon. Tight. And Nix is installed on my machine though. I think I have Nix installed. Ooh, maybe I don't. Huh. A lot of curl commands now, isn't there? Oh, it's gonna fucking ask me to download. There's no way. Huh. Why does it want Docker? Brick breaker module directory scaffolded. The game implements the core loop. Great. Workshop builds.lgx via Nix build. Nix is installed on this machine. The LGX format is deterministic. The Merkle hash manifest, not something I want to hand roll, and I just having Basecamps install or check. Install Nix, determine 15 minutes, fetch Qt plus STK. Build LGX CLI from source, Logos package needs CMake. Build CLI then manually. Stage manifest and let LGX create LGX add handle Merkle hashing. Source is ready. I run Nix build myself in the brick breaker thing once Nix is on the machine. Option 3. All right, here goes nothing. All right, do it. Ugh. Yeah, this Nix install is heavy. All right, we're done. Open a new terminal, type Nick shell, all that. Okay. Okay. So now I do go to brick paper, get a knit queue, next click, update, and next build. Okay, let's do this. I now have Nix on the machine. Execute step 1 from try to build the LGX package now. All right, this one's going to take a second. I'll be right back to this build. All right, we should have it here now. Alright, that was a cleanup. And here it is. Okay, now I can import it. Open Installia and pick the file or manually. Oh, let's try picking the file. I'm so excited we're at this step now. Where's my Basecamp? There it is. Yay. Okay, so we should go now to Package Manager. Nope. Here. Install LGX. And we need to go Logos Workshop, Brick Breaker, Result Portable. Bam. Holy moly, folks. Holy moly, folks. This is a big fucking moment. This is a big moment. Just the fact that the Brick Breaker module has loaded. I'm thrilled already. So there it is. Let's load it up. And it will. Oh, there it is. Now let's just give it a moment. We'll give it a moment. We're not in a rush. No. All right, I'm not going to give up on it just yet because this is my incrementer. If I want to. All right, I'm going to. Quit this game. Time. Aw. All right, so it's not exactly in terms of loading. But let's see what it built. I bet we're close, and I bet it's you know what, I'm gonna I think what I'm gonna do is isolate the Brick Breaker game and push it up and see if someone so create a PR. Well, it's been fun. I think we can call this very much a success because we were able to load the module in and see the icon on the sidebar, which is further than we were able to get yesterday, which is great. If we can make a little bit of progress every day, we'll be doing just fine. So I'm excited because I can see this icon, which is our Brick Breaker game. What's less exciting is that the actual... Oh my god. It's not actually loaded. Okay, hold on. Everybody chill out. Load. I bet we're so close. Well, but I think we're very close. So I'll come on tomorrow and give everyone an update. We're one step closer to the brick breaking edge, and I'm about to break. All right, folks. Until next time, this was Chair's Table, and the world is a lie, and that lie is the truth. Mahalo.